Welcome one, welcome all to the greatest show of them all. It is the NFC East Mixtape, which you can listen to on all of SB Nation's NFC East blog podcast networks. You can also watch this show on the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel or the Blog and the Boys YouTube channel. If you do that, you will see he himself, he is him, the one and only Brandon Lee Gowton from Bleeding Green Nation. You can also see me. I am my version of him. I am RJ Ochoa from Blog and the Boys, and not in my usual setup, not with my usual sound quality. I'm in California at the moment. It is training camp season, Brandon. It's Wednesday for us, Thursday for the listener. It's good to see you in a Philadelphia Athletics hat.
RJ, it's nice to see you as well. I just want to give a big shout out at the top to two of our most dedicated, loyal listeners here on the NFC East Mixtape. That's one, Holden and Elizabeth, who got married over the weekend. RJ, actually, I married them. I'm sure
I saw that.
Yeah, on my Instagram story. It was fun. It was a big surprise. Most people did not know that it was going to be happening. They thought they were just coming to a house party at the end of July on a Saturday. But it turns out that little surprise wedding. And now Holden and Elizabeth are having fun in Italy for a honeymoon/work. So congrats to them. I know they'll be listening to the pods, maybe on the airplane or at some point. So shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out, but like a bit of a back shout out because I congratulated Holden on Instagram, and I understand there's a lot going on. Didn't get a response. You know what I mean? Like that's just
Oh, he's busy. Come on.
I know. I mean, I'm just like but I didn't even get like the double tap like of the message. I responded to you because I saw you. You were tagged, and I was like, holy crap, BLG's like marrying people.
Right.
And
I'm ordained.
Right, and you did the double tap. You did the base minimum level of protocol. But so the NFC East Mixtape now has an ordained minister on the show on a regular basis.
That's true.
That's pretty cool. How long did the process take?
Oh, it's very easy. It's incredibly simple. But if you want me to do your wedding, listener, I will consider it. To let me know, reach out to me, and I will.
Hit BLG up on Cameo, and he'll consider doing your wedding.
There's other ways to contact me, but that is one. But we have a big show today, RJ, and we're tight on time.
We do. Can I offer a brief message to the Blog and the Boys listeners? Well, no, I mean just for a scheduling thing.
You're resigning?
So this episode is going out on Thursday in the normal spot of my show individually, the Ochoa. That's not happening this week. Just too busy being out here at camp. So apologies that this show did not go out yesterday for you. But we're putting this show in that slot. We do have videos on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel breaking down each day of Cowboys camp. If you want to go watch them, they are about 20-25 minutes, just kind of discussing the activities of the day. Myself and Rudy J, who I work with over at San Antonio Sports Star. So if you're looking for stuff, I know it was a weird week for the podcast schedule, and I appreciate Brandon for being malleable and flexible the way that you are. So BLG, it's training camp season. Football, I know we did the football is back a million times thing, but if you say it in August, it's really back. In fact, the day that this episode's going out, there's a football game happening in the NFL.
That's crazy. The Hall of Fame game is, it is what it is. It's not like a very exciting game, but it's crazy that football is just here. It's already back in terms of actually being played. RJ, I guess we should talk about the big standouts from training camp, or what are the big storylines happening in each training camp team. Each team's training camp. For the Eagles, RJ, not a lot of drama. A lot of these teams have holdouts. I mean, Cowboys among them, or some kind of drama with Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. There's a lot of teams.
Sean Payton, Robert Saleh,
exactly. Right. Some weird kind of national, some big storyline going on. Eagles, not really, and I think that's a great place to be. I think they're happy with that they don't really have that. The biggest thing you could say that it's approaching kind of drama is Hassan Reddick was asked about his contract after practice on Tuesday. And there were some kind of I don't want to make too much. There were some questions in OTAs when he wasn't there, which, OTAs are voluntary, but Hassan Reddick is from Camden, New Jersey, which is right across the river from Philly, and he works out in Philly. So it's not like, he lives in California and he just didn't want to be in Philly. He's in the area anyway. He's just choosing not to attend, and that's fine. I'm not criticizing him for that. But he was asked about, his contract and does he feel underpaid, and he didn't deny it. He wasn't like, no. And so, I don't think it's a situation where he's going to be holding out. He's obviously at practice He has not been a full participant yet. He missed the first few days. He's been upgraded to limited, so he's there. I don't know that it's quite holding in because he is doing some work. It's not like he's just doing nothing at all. But it is interesting, and he is really underpaid relative to the top of the market. I think he's like 15th or so, 19th highest paid edge rusher.
It's like we said, the probability of him having a similar season is, like his earning power will probably never be as high relative to like his current status in the NFL. So like it makes sense to, want to capitalize on that. And so I know you're saying it's not that, like it's not exactly what's happening, but it would make sense if he wanted to go down that road.
The money, it's not just about the rank too. It's like the amount of money. It's like 10 or like 10 to 15 million less per year than the top earners like, TJ Watt and Myles Garrett, who, by the way, are the only two players with more sacks than Hassan Reddick since 2020. Like, so he definitely has a case. At the same time, he signed a 3-year deal last year. And it's kind of hard to expect the team to just rip up that contract a year into the deal and give you a whole new deal, especially in the context that like Hassan Reddick was a free agent the previous 2 off seasons. So it's not like he didn't have a chance to test the market. He did twice, and the market spoke on him. And I do think he was ultimately undervalued, but I think it's a situation where I think they're just going to redo his contract after this year, because after this year, he'll be going to the last year of his deal. And at that point, you can kind of like, give him an extension or kind of lengthen it out so that way he gets some new money and everything. But outside of that, there really just isn't a lot of drama here in Eagles camp. I would say Jalen Hurts is looking good, and that's really encouraging to see. He has yet to throw an interception in training camp, and I think that speaks to how he really hasn't putting the ball in harm's way. He just had his 2 of his sharpest practices out of the 4 days they've been practicing. So those are the big storylines here in Philly.
Any padded practices yet for the Eagles?
They had one, on Tuesday. That was their first one. So Eagles camp so far, I don't know how the Cowboys have been doing it, but like Eagles camp, basically in terms of media attended practices, has been every other day. It's like one practice, and then the next day they'll either have like a walkthrough, which is closed to media, and it's just a walkthrough. They're just going through at a very slow pace. There isn't really much to even see, which is why media isn't there. And then practice again, and then like an off day. So they keep it really light. It obviously worked out well for them last year. And knock on wood, they have not had any kind of major injuries since camp started. They had a couple guys like Avonte Maddox and Derek Barnett enter camp with injuries that were pre-existing, and they were limited. But there's no big new injuries or anything.
I mean, I think that's how the Giants are going about this. We'll get to them, and obviously the Cowboys in a moment. But I mean, that seems pretty chalk. Like that's the word it sounds like, right? Except for the Hassan Reddick, like you don't even know what to call it, like because it's not a holdout or hold in, like at least on the surface. So I feel like the most exciting thing has been the Kelly Green jerseys. Like that's the most like the thing.
How do you feel about them? I want to get your take on that because you're a Jersey guy.
I definitely want to offer a take, but I don't want to like just move past the football because that's the most important thing. Like we finally have football to talk about. So it's important that Jalen Hurts hasn't thrown an interception. Dak Prescott can't say that right now, which I'm sure makes you happy. I also saw, I don't know if it was Nick Sirianni, but I saw the gassing up of DeAndre Swift has officially begun. That's what we're starting to see. Like the hype machine around DeAndre Swift is officially off.
This is the kind of practice setting that DeAndre Swift should thrive in, at least thus far, especially before the first padded practice, because they're just running around in shorts. He's athletic. He can catch the ball. Defenders can't tackle him. There's no wear and tear like that. So this is the setting he should look good in, to be clear. But there is something definitely to the fact that I think the Eagles are going to use their running backs in the passing game more than they did last year, which is a very low bar to clear. I think they were like the lowest. They ranked among the lowest teams, or were the lowest team in terms of running back reception utilization. So that is an interesting kind of wrinkle, I guess, to the Eagles offense, which was already so good last year. And they're returning a lot of those same players and pieces for the most part, but with a new offensive coordinator in Brian Johnson and some new talent in the backfield, especially, I think there is something to the fact that the running backs might be a little bit more involved in the passing game this year. So that's kind of a new wrinkle they can add to the offense. And it's looked good in camp. Swift had a really good catch the other day, 30, 40 yards down the field, got interfered with too, still made the play. It was really impressive. So I'm not like buying into DeAndre Swift is the player that Miles Sanders was last year in terms of utilization. And he's like your top alpha back, but I definitely think he's going to lead the team in receptions by far. and has a chance to lead the team in total touches if he is getting the ball a lot as a pass catcher. But the Eagles have been rotating their backs, honestly, like Trey Sermon, Boston Scott, like Rashad Penny and Swift. All of those guys are basically rotating all around with first team, second team, third team. So if you're a fantasy person, really not the ideal setup for you because you don't know what to expect out of these guys. So, but yeah, Swift's looking good, I guess, just like you said.
Well, good for him. Howie Roseman's a genius. Howie Roseman was right and everybody else was wrong in terms of trading for him. That's a big thing, though, if he could lead the team in total touches. And also kind of I mean this like just I don't mean this like in a negative way. Like, who would have thought like that saying I don't know that he could be what Miles Sanders was would be like a high bar to clear. You know what I mean? Like I would have, I at one point thought Miles Sanders was underrated. But that's just it just speaks to his utilization last year, obviously. By the way, we never talked about Miles Sanders thinking Andy Dalton's a Hall of Famer. That line that like made the rounds, that was really funny. Okay, I just wanted to get through all these things really quickly. I didn't want to forget because so much has happened. I also saw you tweeted that there's water under the bridge with Darius Slay and Matt Patricia. So that hasn't been like a thing bubbling. You spoke to that obviously with no drama happening. So all football stuff is where it needs to be. What about, before we get to the uniforms, Jalen Hurts having a lock screen of himself? What are your thoughts on this?
I wanted to get your thoughts on this. I mean, he did this back at Alabama. I don't know if you saw the context when they lost the championship game or whatever back then. So this isn't new for him. It's very on brand for him. I feel like it's something that you think is try hard. I feel like you're not going to like it. But I mean, I think it's authentic to his character and who he is. He is extremely driven and motivated. And I mean, if you're an Eagles fan, how do you not like that? How do you not like that this loss that hurt you a lot also hurt your starting quarterback a lot?
My only take on this, because I don't have like what a weirdo take. Like I don't have any thoughts at all. Like, I agree with the sentence you said. Like, if you're an Eagles fan, how do you not love it? And that's like my take is like, if you're an Eagles fan that has hated on Dak Prescott forever for like all this stuff, like you've got you're a little bit of a hypocrite at this point. Like, and that's my take is like, from a personality standpoint, and I think you and I both agree they're both like exemplary human beings. They're the same person. You know what I mean? Like in terms of like personality and like demeanor and saying and doing the right thing off the field, and not like the football cliche, whatever silly stuff, blah blah blah. Like they're both that dude, and that's all I'm saying. Like in I'm not saying they're the same player or anything like that, but they are both the same, appropriately driven guy off of the field. I don't have like a passion thing. So it was a funny story. I also thought it was funny the way it was found out. I mean, it's not like. It's not like he tweeted the screenshot or anything. It was just like I know, but it was so funny how he was like trying to record something, right? And somebody like happened to notice the lock screen.
It happened during the Eagles rookie singing. It sounds like the Eagles don't do much hazing. There's one little hazing thing is in good fun, seemingly, where they just make the rookies sing songs up on the stage and karaoke
a lot
from the
of
team.
Cowboys do this too, right?
Yeah, and it's not like super rare, but Hurts was just recording, I think, one of the rookies, and it just so happened, that his lock screen showed up in someone's like Instagram live or whatever.
Very funny. My thoughts on the jerseys, love it, absolutely love it. Like I bring them all back. Like absolutely love this. This is my specific take on this, and I don't know the times they're being worn against the Dolphins and
the Bills.
Okay,
so that's like I think late October and November. You have to wait a little bit.
These games have to be at noon. That's my take on the Kelly Green jerseys. They're not jerseys.
Crazy.
They're not jerseys that would look good at night to me. The
That's
Eagles
insane.
The Eagles all black jerseys, the all black ones look awesome at night, like objectively. From like a color standpoint, they're too bright to be worn at night. Like when I think of like the times that they were last worn, like when McNabb wore them or whatever, they were day games. That's my take. My other take, and I think the Dolphins do this well. If you're gonna do, and I'm sure the Eagles will, if you're gonna do a throwback thing, you got to do the whole way. Like you got to see the field, the tarps, the signs. Like there has to be no sign of the like whatever main logo. Like it has to be that logo, that color scheme all throughout the building.
I agree. I think they will. I would guess they would do that. I think they have enough of a track record with that stuff to give them some benefit out there. But if they don't, I certainly will call that out. And I'm a little disappointed. It's in two AFC East teams, like literally the most meaningless games in terms of your schedule, and like it's a little disappointing. Both, like really both the Dolphins and the Bills, like no NFC East juice to those jerseys. I'm a little disappointed by that. I really think it would be cool to have a throwback versus throwback. I almost wish I would like to see the Cowboys in their retro, which I like, which we've talked about, versus the Eagles wearing their. I would like to see a home jersey versus home jersey in Philly with the Kelly green versus those Cowboys jerseys, which have a lot of white on them anyway. I know blue is still the main color, but I think there's enough white that it still kind of gives an away team vibe. I think that would look really fun. There's been talk of how I don't think it'll happen, to be clear, but there's been talk of how the Dolphins have really nice throwbacks and everything. If they could wear like the white version, of their throwbacks against the Eagles and the Kelly green, like that, a throwback versus throwback, I think would be really cool.
I'm down for that. Okay, so let's move on. I don't think. I think that since we last recorded, Trayvon Diggs got his contract. Zach Martin obviously hasn't. At least at the time we're recording this on Wednesday. I mean, that's subject to happen at any moment, obviously. But so Trayvon Diggs did not hit the $20 million per year mark, which was a big win for the Cowboys. I mean, it's very difficult to be upset about the deal. It was massive. I had no faith that they were going to get that one done. And so the fact that it just
what do you mean done? Ever or this year?
I mean, they haven't been the most forward-thinking team when it comes to, one of our star players is now eligible for an extension. Let's get it done now. Let's pay market rate now so that the future version of us can benefit from this. They don't have a track record of doing that. And Trayvon, unlike all the other players who are in need of contracts right now, was entering the final year of his contract. He was the only one who they were going to have to use the franchise tag next year on as an example. And so you used the term there was no drama or whatever within the Eagles. I would offer that same exact statement. But I find that to be amazing with the Cowboys because of who they are.
Oh, what about Zach Martin?
Well, it's still not a dramatic thing. Like it's
a big deal. He's not there.
But it's not like contentious. Like when Zeke was holding out, there was contentiousness. You know what I'm saying? Like this is just, I mentioned I'm here with San Antonio Sports Star. We had Jerry Jones on Tuesday, and he was just like very chill. Like, and I don't say that like in Jerry's right or anything, but like there is no like sense of panic. There was a sense of panic around the Zeke holdout 4 years ago now. It's just a matter of like everyone just kind of taking this day by day. But so what I found to be amazing, to kind of go back a little bit, the Cowboys arrived last week and we talked about this a lot on the voice, but they had their big, press conference, and they usually are very offering in this press conference and give a lot of information. And they were like, yeah, it was actually very boring, which in and of itself was one thing. But then like 3 hours later, it's just like announced that they have this $100 million deal almost for Trayvon Diggs, and nobody said a word, which is not characteristic behavior for them. So Trayvon gets paid. And the Cowboys do have 3 injuries to monitor that have popped up since. Safeties, Donovan Wilson, and if you want to classify Israel Mukuamu, they're both dealing with multi-week injuries. It seems like Donovan Wilson will be back for week 1. He was a very important part of their defense last year, got a new contract with the team. So, not ideal, but again, thankfully not a situation that's taken him out into the regular season. So both of them are out multi-weeks. Sam Williams, Cowboys second-year pass rusher, had something pop up earlier this week. It was a shoulder strain. He did return to individual drills on Tuesday, but he did leave practice early. But so it seems like he's okay. They're just kind of easing him back in. But that's what I'm saying. Like, so they've got, on paper, they have a holdout with arguably their best player. They have 3 defensive,
no big deal.
3 defensive high-level contributors who are dealing with multi-week injuries. This is my 4th time coming to Cowboys camp. Normally there are like senses of panic around things like this, and there isn't, you know what I mean? And call it like foolishness or whatever, like head in the sand, whatever. But like it is, I wouldn't say like calm or whatever, but it's just business as usual, which is kind of nice and rare for them as a team. I've seen now 2 practices since I've been here. They are off the day you and I are recording, closed session to the media, similar thing. They had padded practices for the first time on Monday and did a second round on Tuesday. Tuesday was an excellent day for Dak Prescott. He was on fire. He did have a horrible interception. I'm doing a radio show, so I missed the first hour of practice, which is I'm sure similar for the Eagles. A lot of warming up and stretching. So thankfully get out there for the meat of the action. But on Monday had a horrible interception that looked like some.
That's the one that went viral.
Yeah, it looked like some miscommunication with Brandon Cooks.
Sure.
Malik, it was just this fly ball that Malik Hooker fielded. It wasn't even like a cool interception. You know, it wasn't like a break on the ball or anything. It was just kind of boring, honestly. But so Dak looked incredible on Tuesday. I tweeted out some videos and shared those all over the place if anybody wants to go look at them. I would say CeeDee Lamb. I don't know. I don't have any interest in like ranking CeeDee Lamb like, oh, he's the like 6th or 7th best receiver in the NFL. Wherever he is, he will be better than that. That's like I feel he is ascending. Like he looks like the best player on offense. Just it looks so much easier for him compared to everybody else. My other big main takeaway is that no matter what every Cowboys fan wants to believe, at some point Micah Parsons will regress, right? Like at some point you just can't be like better than the best. That's not happening this year. He is on Monday. A friend of mine, Bobby Bell, caught the video of this. And I know this isn't peak prime Tyron Smith. He like one hand through Tyron. I've never seen any human being do that. Like it was unreal what he did. And so the Cowboys defense had the early edge on the offense as a whole. And on Tuesday they were kind of jawing at each other a little bit. But so far so good in a football sense.
My takeaway from Cowboys camp from afar is some talking going on. Some talking, definitely. I mean, you have Micah Parsons out here saying that the Cowboys are the top team in the NFC. You have Jerry Jones issuing like a warning of sorts to the rest of the division, saying that everyone else needs to be on their game. Although he did also offer respect to the other teams. Who else? Am I missing? I feel like there was something else. Just feels like there's been like a lot of chatter coming from the Cowboys. A team that has perennially disappointed. So it's kind of a little interesting to me. And hey, if you back it up, we've talked about, how we endorse coming out and if you have proven it, you have the right to say things. And if you do put out something and you do back it up, okay, as you should, great, good job by you. But it does put pressure on you to live up to that. So this thing is a little interesting. I'm not like saying, oh wow, this is pathetic and they're totally delusional. That's not what I'm saying. It's like a little chatter. I noticed a little chatter coming out of Cowboys camp. If you're a Cowboys fan, maybe
that's your takeaway.
Well, maybe you like that swagger. Well, yeah, I'm not there every day. What else takeaway I'm gonna have? I'm just saying I see a little common thread in Micah talking and Jerry Jones talking. I noticed there's a little bit of chatter going on.
Okay, so you have noticed that even though you haven't been at Cowboys camp every day, but you were silent on Jalen Carter offering his opinion on the Cowboys.
So he didn't actually say that in camp, to be clear. He said that. No, I'm not saying.
So what? It just popped this week, though. Like that's the point.
But I'm saying I'm just giving context. I'm not saying it's not a commentary.
You're contextualizing how the Cowboys live rent free in Jalen Carter.
I'm saying that he said that at his own football camp, which is back in pre-training camp. But he did say that, and he did say he's ready to kill the Cowboys. And yeah, I like that. But
there was
not saying
that is the most flagrant thing that anybody has said. If you're counting Micah, it is. I mean, like it is. And again, Jalen justified the term rent free by being like, I know what it is around here. Like that's what it is. Like that's the only reason the Eagles exist is to try to beat the Cowboys. He proved that. So
all right.
I'm very excited about Brandon Cooks. He's very, very, very fast. Something that's really been interesting, obviously, Mike McCarthy is the play caller. I'm sure you saw, I wrote about this and did a lot of stuff around this. Last week before I got out here, he sat down with NFL Network when they were out here. And Brian Baldinger asked him about his run the ball comment, which is the only thing that anybody ever heard him say. And he, in the kindest way possible, was like, y'all are so dumb for like just thinking that. Like anyone who believes that or ever believed that to me is really silly. But at one point, I wrote about this every day of the Cowboys practice. I do a takeaways article and like observations, news notes, things like that at BTB. I know Ed's doing that at Big Blue View as well. Does a great job with that always. But on Tuesday, at one point, Deuce Vaughn and Cavante Turpin were lined up in the backfield simultaneously. And there's one play, one moment in time. I know, like I'm not trying to like, oh my gosh, like watch out,
revolutionize the NFL. Yeah,
but like that is and has been rare for this team, at least. Like the conversation you've heard me say this many times has been about how they need to get more explosive playmakers. They've had CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard, and they have talked about Cavante Turpin. Casually about using him on offense. I buy it. Like I'm ready to buy that they're willing to use him on offense. I didn't know that he would make. I haven't done a 53-man roster projection, but if I had done one a week or 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have included him because I don't. You and I have talked about this, how, as a returner, if you're just a returner, you don't offer a lot to an NFL team anymore because of the rule changes and things like that. So, I mean, the fact that they're incorporating and utilizing him on offense is a good thing. I didn't see this myself, but it set up for an easy joke. Like I said, I was on the air for the first hour of practice, but we had a wireless mic out there, and Rudy, who was in the video with me that we shot for our YouTube channel, he saw it. At one point, the Cowboys pitched it back to Cavante on a lateral, and he threw a touchdown. And so again, silly sort of thing, but like that's like, first of all, number 9 throwing a touchdown again for the Cowboys, kind of cool. But like that is rarefied air for them. You know what I mean? Like having this many explosive playmakers involved at once. It's an exciting thing. My last takeaway, it's hard to trust. But Jalen Tolbert has gotten a lot of hype in year 2, and Cowboys players have really gassed him up. Brandon Cooks actually on NFL Network a few weeks ago, he said it's really nice to be around other elite receivers, and he cited CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Jalen Tolbert. It was like, what? But it kind of felt like they were trying to hype him up. That kind of big brothers help the little brother type.
Sure, yeah, I get it.
And I'm willing to buy stock. Like he looks. I mean, they might be training camp eyes. You know how those exist, but like it. I mean, the bar is low, but he will definitely be a better player than last year. But like the other thing is, Dak is very focused on him. Like the opportunities will be there at the very least. I'm very intrigued by him. I think the boldest take is, and I've seen this on Twitter from certain, Cowboys people. I would like if you told me that you time traveled and at the end of the year, wide receiver 3 for the Cowboys was Jalen Tolbert over Michael Gallup. I don't think that's inconceivable. I wouldn't bet on that, but I don't think it's inconceivable.
Inconceivable. As RJ takes a sip of his draft iced coffee. He has iced coffee that's in like a cup that looks like he went to a bar, and instead of getting like a Bud Light or whatever, it's just, and for the video
it's very
audience, he's putting it up to the screen. But when it looked fuller, it was just like very interesting to me. Anyway, are you ready to talk about Giants camp?
I am, after we take a very quick break to hear a word from our sponsors. Welcome back. While we were gone, Brandon looked through 6 vinyl albums to pick his song for today.
I don't
NFC East
have
Mixtape playlist.
any vinyl. I don't have a record player, so that is not true.
That's not true. Okay.
It is true.
The New York Football Giants, everybody head to bigblueview.com. Ed Valentine wrote takeaways from New York Giants first padded practice at training camp. This was on Tuesday. And so Ed's takeaways, BLG, were that defense kind of won the day, which is generally kind of a theme, I think, throughout a lot of camps across the NFL, certainly happening with the Cowboys, as mentioned. So Ed titled this section, The Main Event. And this is what he wrote. That would be the one-on-one drills between the offensive and defensive line. Here we go. Rookie center John Michael Schmitz had 2 one-on-one reps against Dexter Lawrence. I love the way Ed wrote this, and acquitted himself well.
Wow.
Look at that.
That's impressive for a rookie. I mean, it's only a couple reps, but like, that's what you want to see out of a guy who's going to be your starting center and going up against a very high quality player. So that's encouraging for them. Did you have anything else from that section?
Second-year right tackle, these are Ed's words. Evan Neal struggled to match Azeez Ojulari's speed on one rush, so he may have guided the third-year edge defender around the pocket. Matched up with Kayvon Thibodeau, it looked like Neal controlled Thibodeau initially, but then lost to an inside move.
If Evan Neal doesn't make a leap this year, it's a big concern. It's a big issue for the Giants. If he does not he doesn't even have to be an all-pro, but like if he doesn't make a leap to competence, then that's like a huge weakness that they have on the right side, and that could really just not be very tenable for them.
Among Ed's notes, there's nothing really like massive, no like huge pizzazz. There were no significant injuries, so the Giants aren't dealing with anything on that front. The Giants we started to see like the viral clips around camps. They had, who was it? One of their defenders had the Jordan pose, one-handed interception.
That was pretty sick. That was a crazy interception.
It was really sick. It was one of those things like I don't think you could do that again. You know what I mean? The timing of it was so perfect. Yeah,
I have a couple notes here. Different article on Big Blue View from Nick Filato. He mentioned that Darren Waller is obviously looking good. So, not necessarily a shock. He should look good in the setting. It's not question isn't, is Darren Waller have any talent? I mean, he does. It's a matter of, how is he going to hold up over the course of the season after kind of having injury issues and such over the past couple of years. But he also mentioned in here some of the youth. Jalen Hyatt seems to be looking good as well.
That remains a bummer that it worked out for them.
He's going to be an annoying player potentially to deal with in the division, and also would be very satisfying for the Giants, like from their perspective, because of having to deal with Deshaun Jackson for so long and getting like terrorized by him. For them to have their own kind of fast guy that could give problems to everyone, like that would be such a breath of fresh air. And then the other thing is their first round rookie Deonte Banks. Actually, the note here, it says he has struggled in practice. He says made a few plays, but he has struggled. So that's not shocking to me. I think, a cornerback, it's a position where unless like you're Sauce Gardner and you're just amazing from the jump, it could take a little bit of time there. And so I don't think Banks might be amazing from the jump. But the youth of the Giants in this draft class is obviously like a big part of their, can they go from good to great? And remains to be seen. Also, you need, that development from guys like Evan Neal and elsewhere. But that's all I've seen on the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it a lot, but they are still rebuilding. Like, their rebuild was just like from a success standpoint, really accelerated last year. But I mean, I think everything is where you want it to be with the Giants. They're not dealing with the Saquon drama. We already covered that, obviously.
That was a big win for them to.
Yeah, I mean, so like, it's just kind of like football for the Giants, which I mean is a good thing. It is interesting how I feel like little fanfare they're getting. Like I do feel, I mean, like some of it is like it's difficult for the national media to avoid the Jets right now. But like, man, they are just like backseat. Like, you turn on NFL Network or NFL Live, whatever, and like the Giants are like 15th on the rundown. You know what I mean? Like there's just, and I mean this like in a respectful and positive way. Like they're not like interesting right now. There's not like, this morning when I went downstairs to pour this coffee, they were talking about on Get Up about this one-handed catch that a Jets UDFA had, and like the Giants are getting none of that love right now. That's my point.
Over in Landover, Maryland, if you will.
So I think the first thing we have to talk about here is the mighty power and prowess of Josh Harris. But in all seriousness, apparently, so again, we get kind of lost in our own bubbles, and I'm not at home, so it's difficult to kind of like, have my normal like things I read, and you know what I mean. And I'm on a different time zone. Like I love California; it's amazing, but like I don't know how people live out here. Like it's impossible. I woke up at I've woken up at 6:30 every day, and I feel so behind. In fact, like when you and I scheduled,
it's pretty crazy.
I was like, let's do 7:30, and I was like, okay, we're gonna knock this out like super early, and then I was like, that's like 10:30 for BLG. It's like he's gonna have done so much in the day by then. So again, not like an everyday thing or an all the time thing for me, but it's nice to be out here. But anyway, so
have you gone to In-N-Out yet?
There is one nearby. No, but I am going to have dinner with some of our colleagues here on Thursday night. So I'm very excited about that. Some fellow SB Nationers.
Like who? Drop some names.
I don't want to like dox people, so that's an offline conversation. Well, I don't know, like it's people around. I don't. It's saying it's an offline conversation for us.
All right.
But anyway, the thing I've seen is there have been a lot of people at Commanders training camp. Like that's the thing. Like I think the biggest storyline is like the vibes are back. Like not even high. Like they exist now. You know what I mean?
It's a honeymoon phase. It's like absolutely. There's definitely, and like there is something to that when you talk about like an X factor. I think of the Commanders this season, how much will that carry over? Just the fact that like there's this new sense of possibility and ceiling, and it's like, oh, like it's not like we're capped now at the spot where we always were. It's like this is a new era. This is a new thing. Like we have hope, and that'll make you go so far when you don't have the right talent and quarterback and everything. But I do think there is some like, well, this is new era. We're playing with some house money here. So I do think they have that going for them. At the same time, it's a bit of a weird situation when your coach is like kind of in a lame duck year and everything. But yeah, I don't think there's been any kind of major news from Commanders camp. I haven't really seen one way or another how Sam Howell or the quarterbacks have doing. Like that's kind of weird. Like I haven't like seen anyone really tweet about that. At least any that has made any kind of national level. We'll say Jamin Davis
Yeah, I saw
having
this.
yeah, I mean that's not so good. And like I guess did that only pop up recently? I didn't like even understand like when that popped up. I just saw Hogs Haven and I was like, wait, what? When did this come about?
Yeah, so apparently he was speeding, right? Like that's the like most
Reckless
simplistic way
driving,
to
I
put
think, is
this.
the official term.
Right. And so there was a tweet in there. They call it their all a Twitter roundup.
Hmm.
And the tweet says to those defending Jamin Davis per JP Finley, who does a great job covering the team, he was going 114 in a residential area at 1 in the afternoon. I haven't followed up with the rest of that Jordan Addison story. Well, remember how
Yeah,
he was going like, it was obviously significantly fast, but then there was the story about how he was trying to like get a dog to like a vet or something. So I
right.
don't know what the whole story was there, but yeah, this is really difficult to explain. Nikki Jabvala, we talk about her a lot. Again, apologies, her last name it's very difficult to pronounce. So we need to get her on at one point and then get some clarity
Yeah,
on that.
she's pretty good. She's great
She's amazing.
coverage.
She's one of the best, and she tweeted Commanders practice in a nutshell, stacks in motion, and then she capitalized lots with 5 S's of stacks
Wow.
in motion. I don't know that I buy in on that. Here's another tweet from, again, everybody head to hogshaven.com, which if you think about it, Brendan, is hogshaven.com.
I mean, I have thought about that. Yes.
Early returns from Eric Bieniemy's offense, a lot of different personnel groupings and a lot of pre-snap motion. One thing we're seeing a lot of as well is a lot of bunch and stack formations. So, I mean, the effort's there. I mean, like, I think we agree that like we're intrigued. You know what I mean? Like we're ready to see it. It's just now a matter of like proof of concept. We have the pudding. We need to determine whether or not the proof is in it.
I think the question is how much value is there in the good vibes and the refresh and everything. I think at some point, again, the talent, the quarterback that comes crashing back down to earth. And the Eric Bieniemy thing is nice, but like, I don't know. It's tough because every team, every fan base, all the young players are going to get better. New coaches, they're doing new things. Like I said that, you said that. It's hard to buy into that, fully when everyone has the same level of hope at this time of year. That's what this time of year is all about. It's about that's why training camp is fun because you can't lose. You can't really lose any games. You're just running on optimism and vibes, and you're excited for the most part, unless you have like some very rare disastrous situation in front of you. Like, I don't know, like the Cardinals kind of like I bet you there's even Cardinals fans who are like, you know what, maybe we're going to be better than people expect. I bet you there's absolutely Cardinals fans who believe that for some reason. So that's just the nature of this time of year. You're allowed to enjoy that. That's not a criticism, by the way. I'm not saying like take a step, you're delusional. You're allowed to be a little bit delusional. That's what this time of year is about. You're supposed to get excited for the upcoming season. That's all I've got.
As Kate McAllister said in Home Alone, the original, when talking about Christmas time, it is the season of perpetual hope. That's what this is. Okay, so that's it. Next week we'll have normal, at least as far as we think, NFC East Mixtape production and release. Apologies on being one day late. Before we get out of here, Brandon, we do obviously have to add our songs to the NFC East Mixtape playlist. Rachel was early. Let me see. I'm trying to find it. She said her song choice is "Wild Thoughts" by DJ Khaled and Rihanna. I don't know if you know this or not. Rihanna performed at halftime of the Super Bowl that the Eagles
lost. Yeah, I did see that. That was a really good performance, by the way. Great performance.
It was solid.
It was good. It was above average, I would say, for a Super Bowl, as far as Super Bowl standards go. I'm not super familiar with this song, so I have to check that out. My song that I'm going to add to the playlist this week is one that if you played Madden back in the day, especially, you might recognize it. I think it was 07. Some would consider it to be the strongest Madden music playlist of all time, I believe. And I believe that it's really good. It is "Don't Hold Back" by The Sleeping. It's a song that will rock your socks off. It's pretty good. RJ, are you frozen? Or are you just looking down? Okay,
no,
looking down. Sorry, you weren't moving at all, so I couldn't tell. I was looking at frozen.
Songs. Well, I was deciding between two songs, but I mean, I don't remember that song. How does it go? Give us a little reminder, a refresher.
You have to listen. I can't do it justice. It would be a crime against humanity for me to try to imitate it. But listen to it. I think you'll like it. I think you'll recognize it because I know you're a big Madden player. You still kind of are to some extent, even though you hate it for fair reasons.
I just wish that football fans could get a better product. But at the same time, I love the game and I love playing it. And my cousin and I played something that like we shared. So I play it every year and buy it every year. And just we're stuck.
Man, that's tough every year.
Okay, so that's a great song. Well, I think it's a great song. If it's the one
I think you're gonna hear it and you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember this. I think you'll like it.
What's the song from Madden that I'm thinking of? The one that's like it sounds like actually like a record player, like, and then it's like, and baby don't follow.
Yeah, that's Cartel. I referred to Cartel.
That's the beginning to Say Anything, right?
Yeah, Say Anything. Okay. Parentheses else. Yeah.
Else. Yeah. Okay. Imagine the naming of that song. What if we call it something? But wait, in parentheses. Wait, what else? Okay. Good selection. I'm gonna go with a similar time frame ish. So to me, we're at the time of year where it kind of feels like back to school. You know what I mean? Like that's what this kind of feels like.
It is for some people.
Well, I know, but like it takes me back to like that time frame. So like it takes me back to like high school and like we're at training camp. I was on the drumline in high school. When you're on, I've made this joke before. When you're on the drumline in high school, you have to sign something that says at any point in your life where you get the opportunity to say that you were on the drumline, you have to do it. So that's what I've just done. And so we would have summer band like 2 or 3 weeks before school started, where we would go like start learning the show. And it was ridiculous, like looking back on it. But like I'm thinking about the songs that were like in music videos on MTV, like that I would put on when I was like getting dressed in the morning or whatever. And so this is in that range of songs of time. Move Along by the All American Rejects. Speaking of drumming, boom, 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 just the way it starts is super cool. So those are our 3 songs for the week.
I remember people doing like the parody "Mow the Lawn" instead of "Move Along," because it kind of sounds like that sometimes. But yeah, definitely a good song.
Okay, let's go mow the lawn. Brandon, as we get out of here, I would like you to tell us your favorite thing about lawns.
I do like cutting grass. Like I think it's a nice experience. I used to, man, I had a Walkman at the time that I put on, and I used to listen to that while I cut the grass, and it was kind of a nice. I like a nice, like washing the dishes, like an activity like that where you can just put some headphones on and kind of like zone out mentally and kind of just do this task that takes about 45 minutes to an hour. It's just a good way to kind of, I think, just escape your mind a little bit sometimes and just shut it off and kind of just do something physical. So that's all I've got once again.